A phenomenon that a lot of people don't know about is black Africans all over the world becoming some of the highest achieving students. And this isn't just true in the West, it's also in Japan and Russia, as I'm showing here in these pictures. And I read somewhere where this African American woman was like, you know, African Americans aren't as good as math. She actually said something like that. But, you know, all four of the people that I'm showing here, they're geniuses and they're good at math. Africans do better at math than African Americans. When African refugees come to the United States, they do better at math. There was a whole thing in Seattle, and people were absolutely shocked when these refugees from Africa started doing math better than African Americans. You could read all about that in the article. Actually, it's a three-part article on the IQ and Africans and African Americans. You can see that in the descriptions. 3/5 of the black students at Harvard are Africans or black people from the West Indies. 3/5. 3 freaking 5ths of the black people at Harvard. Now, what's wrong with African Americans? They live in a first world country, and they're being outcompeted by people from places like Jamaica. If you look at super elite schools, you'll see people from places like Jamaica, not African Americans. So the difference isn't because of genes, because Jamaica, you know, West Indies are also descendants of slaves. So something like 8% wherever of the people at Harvard are black, and of them, most of them are not African Americans. The reason is because Africans were the first nerds, according to the Daily Mail. Some of the earliest sophisticated technology actually started in Africa. If you're led by the media to believe that you're not very good at math, and you're not smart enough, or that being good academically is bad, you know, it's being good, a good student is being white, and, you know, black people shouldn't do that. They need to be thugs. That's what, not all African Americans, but it plagues African American culture. But Africans themselves were the first nerds. They developed the earliest technology, not in Europe, but in Africa. In fact, the first mine in the world is in Swaziland, where they mined ochre in order to be used as cosmetics, so they were sophisticated. From the article, metallurgical traditions of the South African Iron Age, and quality of the iron produced could have attained levels similar to the Swedes of the 19th century. Now that's really incredible. And you can't really hold on to the fact that the African environment didn't encourage intelligence or innovation because they had high quality iron. And African geniuses are not limited to modern times. In Uganda, they were doing cesarean sections. This was observed and described by an explorer in the 19th century. There are hundreds of ruins in South Africa and Zimbabwe, and there's idiots that think it was built by space aliens, like this guy.
Answers from the so-called authorities on this. And agricultural terraces. Thousands of kilometers of agricultural terraces. In fact, more than 450,000 square kilometers of agricultural terraces in a sparsely populated part of the world. Who built these terraces? What were they planting in these terraces? What's going on here? It doesn't fit. It doesn't match. The roads link every stone circle. There's the road there. It's very, very badly eroded, as you can see. Most of the times you don't even know you're walking on these ruins. Over there at the bottom, it used to connect in there, but that looks like water washed it away at some stage. Look at this linking into these strange hexagonal things. There's not enough time to talk about that, but there's spectacular information about what is going on there. And there's ruins there and there, but they're just covered by soil. This is a beautiful example of a channel running into with all the stuff around it. The spider's web effect. Look at this. Now imagine most of southern Africa looking like this a long, long time ago. And these are all cattle kraal, as I said, built for special cattle. There were a lot of cattle. Boy, they were just, I don't know where the people were, but there are a lot of cattle.
In fact, we have clear documentation from European explorers clearly stating that there were towns in South Africa the size of Cape Town, contemporary Cape Town. Now, it might be true that the African environment stifled civilization a bit. It would have been in a lot of places, and they would have been a lot more advanced in Africa if it weren't for the harsh environment. But necessity is the mother of invention, and there was highly advanced ironworking, as I have already shown. Ethiopia has one of the lowest IQs in Africa, and yet has amazing architecture. It was a great civilization. Some of the greatest artwork in the world comes from Nigeria. Nigeria has a history of geniuses going back thousands of years. This piece here goes back about 3,000 years. This is technologically sophisticated. It's metal casting at a very high level. Ironworking in the region goes back 3,000 years. I really like these pieces, these sculptures with the ivory of them. This is a drinking vessel. This is Benin City from Nigeria. And as you can see, geniuses have been going back for a long time in Nigeria. And as nutrition and education and all of that stuff improve, IQs in Africa will eventually rise to meet the level of Europeans.
It was at the end of the 19th century that Europeans first began to take a serious interest in the art of Africa. In 1897, over 2,000 works of art were removed from Benin City in Nigeria after the city was destroyed by British troops. The Benin bronzes stunned Europeans who saw them.
People worried long and hard about the Benin bronzes. Could they really have been made by Africans? Were they actually made by Portuguese for them? We now know, of course, that they were made by Africans, and that casting tradition stretches back long, long before European influence. But at the time, they changed, very importantly, our preconceptions about what African art was and what Africans were like.
But the people who made these majestic sculptures, dating from the 16th to the 19th century, were relative newcomers in the art and craft of casting metal. Their oral traditions told them that they had learned their skills from the Yoruba people of Ife, about 100 miles away to the northwest. This sensational and unexpected new find was reported with great enthusiasm by an American anthropologist, William Bascom, for the Illustrated London News. Such was the high quality of the work that he likened the unknown people who made them to the great Italian Renaissance sculptor, Donatello. He wrote, "Little that Italy, Greece, or Egypt ever produced could be finer, and the appeal of their beauty is immediate and universal." Most of the heads unearthed in 1938 remained with the Oni of Ife. These are casts of some of them held in the British Museum collection. The sight of such a large group of refined naturalistic work had a profound effect on Europeans, but the idea still persisted that they couldn't be the work of Africans. In his article, William Bascom wrote, "How in a comparatively obscure corner of this vast and backward continent could an art and a technique have flowered that take their stand beside the best ever evolved by the elaborate civilizations of Europe and Asia?